How's it going, everybody? It is Classical Chris back again for another magical musical moment. Today's lesson, we're going to be talking about how to prepare properly for a bar chord. Stick around. So, you want to play bar chords, but it's a very difficult technique to execute at first because you have to take usually your first finger, which is 99.9% of the time that you're going to be doing that, and you're going to be pressing at either all 6 strings, or you're going to be pressing 5 strings, 4 strings, 3 strings. Could even be as little as 2 strings. A bar is just pressing more than just 1 string down at a time. So you might see this in some of your music. You might see a capital letter B with a Roman numeral next to it, and what that's telling you is to bar that fret, whatever that Roman numeral is. So if you see a capital letter B and a Roman numeral 3, so you got to know your Roman numerals. So just to review, Roman numerals, the I, or the uppercase I, that's 1, then there's 2 of them for 2, 3, and then IV means 4. It's 1, basically 1 or 5 minus 1, and then you have V for 5, and it just keeps going on like that until you get to IX, which is 9, 10 minus 1, X for 10, and let's face it, you're probably not going to bar much further past the 10th fret because as classical guitar players, our guitar joins each other, the body and the neck join at the 12th fret. So you might bar the 12th fret, but most of the time you're going to be barring the 10th fret or further back, especially for larger bar chords because it's really difficult to get in there. Even I get a buzz note there trying to do that 10th fret bar, so it hardly ever happens. So let's review that. In some of your music, you might also, instead of seeing the letter B, you probably will see the letter C. Now, the letter C means the same thing as that letter B, but it's just a different language. The C is going to be in Spanish or it's going to be in Italian. The C for Italian is the word capotasto, which is where we get the word capo. And then the word in Spanish is ceja. If we spell it, it's C-E-J-A, ceja, that sort of thing. And then if you get a piece of music that was done in German or was edited by Germans, you'll have the letter B because they have the word bar. And then it's also the same thing for French. So now that you have a little lesson on when to play a bar or when to notice a bar in your music, here's how we're going to prepare for it. What we're going to do first is we're going to do some exercises that are going to work on extending the left-hand fingers, because at its essence, the bar chord is an extension, if you will. And when I say extension, I mean that you are opening your hand up and not constricting it. So, like if I were playing like a D7 chord here, that's a pretty constricted motion, or configuration. My fingers are kind of close together. But with a bar chord, there's a separation there especially between my first and second fingers, and especially if I do a bar chord like this, which is kind of a C major chord formation. When I do that sort of thing, where you see this a lot of times, you know, that sort of thing happening in your classical pieces. That's a huge extension. I mean, you can see that my fingers are very wide apart like that. So we need to do some exercises that are going to get our fingers used to that and opening them up a bit. One exercise I really like to do is this kind of staircase kind of motion, which goes like this, like that sort of thing. And then what I like to do from there is extend one finger out like that. And you can kind of have some fun with it. You can kind of maybe do that, do a little pattern here, the second and third fingers. And then finally you would open it up between the third and fourth fingers, and that gets those fingers opened up. And you can move it down and keep moving it down the fretboard until it, it gets really uncomfortable, because you don't want to hurt yourself. You don't want to cause yourself pain, but you do want to stretch the fingers out and get them used to extending a bit. And even at that, what you can also do, guys, is you can work on some right hand techniques while you're doing this. So let's say you get started here and say, you know what, I want to just work on some arpeggios, so some simple arpeggios. So I'm going to go like this. And then you might extend from the second and third fingers and do maybe a backwards arpeggio, maybe go A, M, I, P. They're kind of tough, so you're not going to always get a perfect sound, but that's what you want to go for, is that sort of really nice clear tone, even when you're practicing these sorts of things. And then once you get down pretty far, it's a huge, huge extension. But that's going to get your fingers opened up and ready to play those bar chords. Another exercise you can do to kind of get that going is to do some sort of like octave exercise, maybe some chromatic octaves, some chromatic fifths, thirds, maybe even some larger intervals as well. Some things you can do are something along these lines, where you play the E notes, the F notes, the F sharps, and just go up chromatically, and that'll get your hand opened up as well. And then you're also getting used to coordinating the left and right hands together as you do this. How I'm moving as little as possible to get myself into that position. And opening those fingers up from the knuckle base. One very important thing as you're doing this, it's the same thing with bar chords, is you don't want to go like this and bring your wrist forward and overly flex your wrist. This is, we'll call this the highway to carpal tunnel city, because that is going to cause some serious pain right there. And we don't want to do that. We want to keep the wrist as neutral as possible for as long as possible. Yeah, there are going to be a couple times in a piece of music you're going to play where you got to do this. There's this one chord that I think of automatically. It came from a piece of music, the Sonatina by Federico Moreno Torroba, the larger sonatina that he wrote later on in life. And in the middle section, there's a chord that he plays that just, when you first look at it, you go, how on earth am I going to do that? And then this chord opens up to this, where you play F sharp, the G note here on the fourth string, the D note on the 7th fret of the 3rd string, and the open B string. I tend to just leave my second finger down on that E note because it helps just give me some stability. But that's a really wicked stretch, and you really have to, warm up and get ready for a chord like that, because you're spanning from the 5th and 7th fret, and plus that, your pinky is playing the lowest string, or the highest note in terms of elevation. So that's a tough hand position to be in. And Torroba is well known for that sort of thing, even with at the very end of his other kind of longer piece, if you will, that has the Fandanguillo and the Arada and then the Danza in it, which is called Suite Castellana. The whole thing ends with a whole large E major chord, which it has your pinky spanning between the 3rd and 4th fingers from the 9th fret to the 12th fret, like that. So there are some big, big stretches that you have to get used to, not just the bar chord. So it's really good to be prepared for the bar chord, because that'll actually also prepare you for these larger stretches and these bigger chords that you have to make. So as you do those sorts of exercises, those moving chromatic octaves, or even the exercise up here where you start like this and then you go like this and you go like this and that sort of thing, and you can just move yourself down and then go to the next set of strings and the next set of strings, just some way to get your fingers expanded and extended. When you go to play those bar chords, it will be very easy, and it certainly won't be a challenge, and it certainly won't be a pain either in your wrist, because you don't feel like you have to press so hard that you're actually hurting yourself. So there are some exercises you guys can do to prepare for the bar chords. I hope that helped, and I hope that makes your bar chord playing much, much easier and much more accessible. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time at the next magical musical moment. Thanks so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you haven't done it already, click the like button, click subscribe, hit the bell for notifications so every time I drop a new video, you know exactly when it comes out. Please feel free to share this with all of your friends. I would really appreciate it to help me get my name out there. And again, guys, thanks so much, and I look forward to seeing you in the next magical musical moment. And if you're interested in taking your guitar playing to the next level and you want to take private lessons, please feel free to visit my website, www.classicalchris.com. Drop me an email, and I would be glad to work with you one-on-one.